Joey Styles was once told that he wasn't good enough to call Backlash, and he won't be calling it this year either. WWE Backlash is live this Saturday in St. Louis with a 7 o'clock Eastern start time on Peacock. There's a UFC pay-per-view at 10 p.m., so I think the idea is that they're going to try to get the show done by the time it starts. Raw and Smackdown were not very exciting this week. Smackdown in particular felt like a complete waste of time. Thankfully, the show is moving back to 2 hours soon. Dave Meltzer's heard June 6th as the date, possibly. That's the night before Money in the Bank. I am counting down the days. John Cena now is counting down the number of appearances that he has left. I'm counting down the days until SmackDown moves back to 2 hours. And Backlash is an interesting one. It is headlined by the first match between John Cena and Randy Orton in 8 years. And very possibly the final match between them. That's how they're promoting the match now, one last time. But it's happening in Orton's hometown of St. Louis, in front of his fans, in front of his friends, in front of his family. He's going to be the heavy favorite in the Enterprise Center. And that crowd is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting after that bell rings, right? There might be something in the air when they make their entrances and in front of that crowd and they make the match announcements and, we haven't seen this in almost a decade. And then the bell rings. And this match is going to live or die based solely off the atmosphere in that building. Because I don't have high expectations for any John Cena matches in 2025 after what I have seen out of him so far. Randy is great, but he's no miracle worker. Two guys working a slow, methodical style sounds like death. But if the fans are hot for it, and we get some dramatic near falls out of it, then it could be fun. But it's very iffy. And then you add to that Gunther wrestling Pat McAfee, who isn't even a wrestler, right? Like he's wrestled before, but he's not a wrestler. He's an announcer. And then you have Logan Paul wrestling for a world title. Not exactly the most exciting lineup for a PLE that they have put together. But Logan Paul has had some banger matches. Now it's Jey Uso, so I don't think banger is a word I would use for this. Gunther and McAfee, honestly, that's the match I'm looking forward to the most, believe it or not. That match is going to generate the most heat out of anything on this show outside of maybe the Orton match, and even then I'm not so sure. If they play this right, this could be very entertaining. So that's what I mean when I say that this is an interesting show. Some of these matches, by all accounts, have no business being any good, but the potential is there for them to surprise a lot of people. And as is customary with Triple H, we only have 5 matches official for the show. Now, I am recording this before Raw and SmackDown this week, so there may be one more match added. You can absolutely get 6 matches out of the show. Maybe Seth Rollins against Sami Zayn. I could see that after what happened on Monday night, where Rollins gave Sami a choice from one friend to another. Leave Raw and move to SmackDown, because if you stay on Raw, and if you don't believe in my vision, then I'm going to have to do something to my dear old friend here that I don't want to do. And Sami told him at the end of the night to go to hell. He's staying right where he is. Even after Paul Heyman claimed that, look, I've worked it out, where if you agree to move to SmackDown, I've worked it out with the general managers that you will be the first in line after John Cena wrestles Randy Orton to challenge for the WWE Championship. Now, how he would even put that together, they didn't explain. That's why I think in storyline, Heyman was full of shit. It's like the WrestleMania thing, right? The winner of the night 1 main event, Paul Heyman's favor to CM Punk is he gets him into the main event on night 2. Well, how would he do that? Is Paul Heyman an EVP in this company and we're not aware? Is he pulling strings with The Rock? The Rock certainly wasn't involved in this storyline beyond March 1st, so I'm not quite sure how Heyman has all this power. But that's what Heyman told Sami. If you agree, you'll get a shot at the WWE Championship. It's a done deal. Yeah, tell that to Drew McIntyre. I'm sure he would have blown a gasket. But Sami said, no, go to hell. I'm staying right here. So he ended up wrestling Braun Breaker. He ate 4 spears and a stomp. That's a full meal right there. Sami was adamant in his promo that he would be a world champion one day. We've heard him say this before. Jey Uso is the champion right now, but I think the play should be Seth beating Jey for that title no later than SummerSlam. Sami winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia next year, and then beating Rollins to win the title in New Orleans at WrestleMania. And I know it's early, But just sitting here right now, if I was to map out Sammy's story between now and WrestleMania, that's how it would look. That doesn't mean they can't wrestle a Backlash, though. And if they do, then Seth has to win. Rollins and Braun Breaker tagging against Roman Reigns and CM Punk, that feels like a Money in the Bank match to me, because I'm sure they're going to want Roman on that show. And I just feel like, if you save it for SummerSlam, you want to have Roman and probably Punk in singles matches, if they're not against each other. You want them to have singles matches on that show, not a tag match. SummerSlam is 2 nights this year. They could go the WrestleMania 40 route and do a tag match on night 1, have them come back and wrestle singles matches on night 2. But if they do Roman and Punk against Rollins and Braun, that just feels like a Money in the Bank match to me. They're also teasing Rhea Ripley and Io Sky taking on Julia and Roxanne Perez. Not necessarily for Backlash. It could be a TV match, maybe for Saturday night's main event on the 24th. Becky Lynch challenges Lyra Valkyria. This one is official. And this will be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I think we get a title change here. I'm going with Becky Lynch for the win. I think that's the right move. She just turned heel on Lyra. This is going to be a prolonged program between these two, where I think the goal should be twofold. Number 1, I think it's important to get that title on somebody with a name. Lyra Valkyria is very good. She does not have a name. Maybe one day she will. But she does not have a name that pops in the same way that Becky Lynch does. Becky Lynch is a star in a way that Lyra Valkyria still is not. So I think it would be helpful to that IC title to get it on somebody with a name and let them hold it for a while. Let them defend it for at least a few months. And then the second part of this would be to eventually have Lyra be the one to beat Becky. And when she does, she wins back the Intercontinental title. Now, the other wild card here is Bayley, who was taken out by Becky. Becky revealed on Monday she was the one who attacked Bayley and, took her out of her WrestleMania match. So when Bayley comes back, and who knows, it could be as soon as this weekend, but when Bayley comes back, then it's going to be Becky and Bayley. Lyra's going to have to take a back seat for a little bit. I'm sure they'll do Becky and Bayley, but I think the goal in the end of all this should be Becky putting over Lyra, just like she did in NXT when they worked together a few years ago. Drop the belt back to Lyra. I feel the same way about Cena. Cena and Cody. What's the play here? The play has to be for Cody to eventually beat John Cena. Otherwise, Cody just comes out of this whole thing looking like a fucking geek. Gets kicked in the balls and betrayed by Cena. Then he gets beaten by Cena in the main event of WrestleMania. How does this not end with Cody, who is the face of the company right now, not getting that win back and getting that belt back against John Cena? It's a similar situation here with Becky and Lyra. Then we have Gunther and Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee asked Nick Aldis on Monday to unban Gunther, since Gunther was indefinitely suspended for attacking him and Michael Cole 2 weeks ago. Aldis was standing in for Adam Pearce. He was not on the show this week. So at first, Aldis said no, but then he said yes, which was weird because McAfee wasn't asking for an unsanctioned street fight with the guy. He just said, I want you to unban him so that I could fight him. But in any event, Aldis made it official for Backlash. It will be Pat McAfee against Gunther. And this is a very polarizing match. I see a lot of complaints about WWE treating Gunther badly. First, they have him lose to the Yeet Man at WrestleMania. And now they're burying him in an undercard feud with an announcer. What are they doing with this man? They don't know what to do with this man. As if Gunther hasn't been mostly protected his entire run in this company. As if the man hasn't been a champion for a good 90% of his run there. He lost the world title at WrestleMania. He's not getting a rematch because he's not getting the belt back. The only thing worse than Jey Uso beating Gunther is Jey Uso beating Gunther twice. So why would anybody want to see that match again on this show? John Cena just won the WWE Championship on Smackdown, so you're not going to trade Gunther over there right now. Cena's got to have his run first. So instead, what they're going to do here is put together a special program for Gunther with a guy in McAfee who their fans seem to really like, and who actually cut a hell of a promo on Raw to set this thing up. This is going to have a lot of heat. People are either going to be firmly behind Pat McAfee as the underdog and Gunther is going to chop the shit out of him, or the fans in St. Louis, because remember, the fans are the heels. The fans in St. Louis are going to be behind Gunther. And he's still going to chop the shit out of this man. It's a win-win either way. I don't expect it to go very long. It really should not last longer than 5 minutes. It may end up going closer to 10 if Gunther plays with him like a cat playing with a dead bird. And Gunther is going to win this match. Now, is there another reason why they are doing this match? Is there an ulterior motive behind this? Yes. Yes, there is. I think this is a means to get us to the real match that they're looking to set up, which is Gunther against Goldberg, probably for SummerSlam. I know there's a Saudi show coming up, Night of Champions. I don't know if they've officially announced it yet. That's the rumor going around, I think June 28th. And, you know, Goldberg's been on these Saudi shows before, so it could be for that. But you got a 2-night SummerSlam coming up. Goldberg is wrestling what he has said will be his final ever match. To me, I think that should be a SummerSlam attraction. I don't know if we see Goldberg in St. Louis. I fucking hope he doesn't cost Gunther this match. I would rather Gunther murder McAfee so badly that Goldberg has to make the save. But whether he's there or not, I think that's where this is all leading. You know, one former football guy helping out another former football guy. Or maybe, you know, Gunther wins and he continues to torment Pat McAfee and McAfee has to call in the reinforcements and his reinforcement is Bill Goldberg. It could be as simple as that. You know, Goldberg gets that retirement match that he's wanted for years, that he's been complaining about for years. Gunther will be the guy to retire him. And this is just step one. Jey Uso defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Logan Paul. Now we know why they had Logan go over on AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I'm fine with Logan Paul being Jey Uso's first victim. It's not main eventing this show anyway. We know Cena and Orton are closing the show, so it doesn't matter. Logan is a guy who is easy to hate. He gets good heat. I think he's fine as a first challenger for Jey Uso. If it was anybody else with the world title, I don't think people would give Logan much of a shot here. But against Jey, who a lot of people don't think is holding that title for very long anyway, I'm one of those people. I give him until SummerSlam at the absolute latest. It might make some of those near falls in this match a little more dramatic than they would be if it was almost anybody else with that World Heavyweight title. But Jey Uso is not losing the title to Logan Paul, so Jey Uso is my pick to win. And John Cena defends the WWE Championship one last time, or so they say, against the hometown hero, Randy Orton. The first time these two men ever squared off was at the Brian Pillman Memorial Show in 2001, so back when Cena was the prototype. 24 years later, they meet for quite possibly the final time. I mean, they will be meeting for the final time this year. I'm just not convinced this will be the only match they have. But this is Cena's final year. There was a time where I never wanted to see these two in the ring together ever again because they had worked together so many times. I was done. I was just over it. I was over listening to Michael Cole tell me what a classic rivalry this is. No, it's not. No matter how many times they tried to convince me, I never saw this as a classic rivalry. Just because they wrestled 1,000 times does not make it a classic. Cena and Edge, sure. Cena and Punk, absolutely. But some guys just don't have great chemistry in the ring. Some guys don't bring out the best in each other. Look at Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. They had more stinkers than they had classic matches. And I liked their WrestleMania 31 match. I liked the last man standing match that they had at SummerSlam, but it took a fucking tractor to make it interesting. I mean, hell, I'll throw Stone Cold and The Undertaker in there. The hottest era in wrestling. Austin was white hot. Austin against The Rock was magic. Undertaker against Mankind, legendary. You might say the same thing about Undertaker and Kane and that whole story. Taker and Austin? Meh. Nothing special. It happens sometimes. Orton can still go. Cena is completely washed. But they are in St. Louis. So that may carry this to something better than what we got from Cena and Cody at WrestleMania. I sure hope so. You know, coming into this year, it was 7 years since John Cena last won a singles match. He won the Elimination Chamber, but only after an assist from Seth Rollins, who was already eliminated. Then at WrestleMania, he won number 17, but only after an assist from Travis Scott and a kick to the dick. Cena still can't win a match without help from somebody else. So he's going to win this match, or at least he's not going to lose his title. But it's going to be with help from somebody else. Now, it could be Travis Scott again. I hope the fuck not. But it could be. There's even talk of a tag team match coming. Maybe at SummerSlam with John Cena and Travis Scott as partners against somebody, probably Cody Rhodes, and Bad Bunny. So you know we're not done with John Cena and Travis Scott yet. But I had another idea coming out of Smackdown on Friday, and I would love to hear from you guys on how you feel about this. Cena bumped into R-Truth backstage 2 weeks ago as he was leaving the building, and he looked very nonplussed with him, and he just walked off. Then on Friday, Truth confronted Randy Orton in the back. They bumped into each other, and Truth told him that he had no chance at Backlash, and this took Orton by surprise. Jimmy Uso stepped in. He tried to talk some sense into Truth, and Truth, he just played it straight, no comedy, and said Cena told him that, and that he's the last real champion, and he would never lie to R-Truth. So it makes me wonder if they're setting up for Truth to get involved in the finish somehow on Cena's behalf, because he's being manipulated, right? He's still loyal to this man. John Cena is his hero. He's been emulating him and stealing his moves now for years. He would do anything for this man. So what if they weave R-Truth into this Cena heel turn as, I don't want to say his lackey, but as a useful idiot that Cena can use to put more heat on himself while the fans root for Truth to come to his senses and snap out of it. And then eventually he does, and then Cena can attack him at that point. I do think it's more interesting to have Truth in the role of loyal member of the C Nation who still looks up to this man rather than just, oh man, I can't believe he turned on the fans like that. Like, it's all in the execution and how they do it. They have him involved in the finish of the match. It could be really lame, but I think there's potential there for a longer term story. And so I was wondering coming out of that segment if he's going to actually play a role. If not Travis Scott, if Truth may play a role in the finish of that match on Saturday.